Hi friends, it's RUKMINI. Some of you know me as Joanne LeMay, and I'm thrilled you're here this afternoon. Welcome. So before we start today, make sure that you are in a comfortable position, not driving or operating heavy equipment. This will be a yoga meditation. I am thrilled you're here. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. Taking a deep breath in, holding it at the top, and then letting it out. Sounds are great. So let's do that again. Breathing in, holding it at the top, and then just let it out. Very good. Bring attention to your breath, and if prompted, close your eyes. Breathing in through your nose, feeling the sensation of coolness entering your nostrils. Breathing in, and then letting it all out again. Beautiful. You've done this before. Today's meditation will be focusing on the first 3 chakras. We'll be in the key of C for your first chakra, the key of D for your sacral chakra, and the key of E for your solar plexus. Continuing to breathe, we'll begin. Jai Bhagwan friends, the light in me honors the light in you. Thank you for joining me.
Hello, everybody. I am here with RUKMINI today. We are here with Motif, and we're so excited to have y'all here. So we're going to be talking a little bit about a little bit of everything, pretty much, which I think is a pretty good rounded conversation. So, how are you doing today?
I'm exceptional. How you doing?
I'm all right. I'm a little tired. I think it might be the weather, though, because the sun's not out today, really.
That's all right.
It's nice weather, though. I have to give it.
It's good yoga weather.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I feel like everybody here is totally relaxed right now after that, so I'm totally for it. So let's just hop right in. What inspires you to do all of this music? Like, what keeps you going?
I was 2 years ago.
Mhm.
I attended goddess school in Jamaica.
Ooh.
Yes. Yep. There was a dirt bath. The whole thing. It was really very cool.
Whole 9 yards.
At goddess training, we had a sound healer come in.
All right.
And that was it. It was hooked. So she performed similarly. I mean, everyone has their own style, but she had the toka shells and she had the singing bells and she had a rain stick as well. And I just said, I have to do this work. It was just really drawn to it. So after that, I got my first singing bowl and a pair of toka shells, and that's when I started.
And out of all of your cool instruments down here, which one's your favorite?
The one I'm playing at the moment.
Your voice.
No, the instrument that I'm playing at the moment.
Yeah, which one? There's like
But
seven of them.
when I'm playing,
Yeah.
the one that I'm playing in that moment is my favorite in that moment.
Oh, in the moment.
Yeah,
Oof,
yeah, so
never mind. I was like, which one?
I don't play favorites.
Favorite.
They're all special in their own way, and in that moment, that's what needs to be heard.
All right.
So that's the one I'm like all into in that space.
You know, I kind of wish that went for almost everything, because you know when you're talking to someone, and sometimes it's so hard to like feel the moment you're in, which I think a lot of people have issues with. I feel like that's like one thing that I struggle with sometimes too, is just being in that moment.
Yeah.
You know, and I wish that was more of like a thing in everyday life. I feel like when you go to like different countries and things of that nature, sometimes that's their like go-to, like be in the moment, lay back. I went to Spain 2 years ago, oof, and I felt like that's how they were. It was very in the moment.
Yeah.
And it's so different than everywhere else in the States, I feel like. Do you feel that way too?
I do. I think that a lot of depression is living in the past, and anxiety is living in the future.
Mm-hmm.
So if we can just stay present in the moment, we will feel more at peace.
Yeah.
And the best way to do that is to breathe. So in
For
the
sure.
beginning, I brought everyone's attention to their breath,
Yep.
so that they would be in that moment and can receive the healing from the energy from the bowls.
And is the energy from the bowls what makes you kind of feel relaxed from all of that music that's going on?
Pulling yourself into the moment and experiencing the music in that moment is what brings you that peace.
And do you try to do that, but also like get that peace every day? Like how do you do that?
So again, the breath. So I'm a trained yoga teacher, professional yoga teacher, and we are trained to stay in the moment as much as we can.
Okay.
But I'm still human.
Yes, of course.
So I live in the past and I live in the future, and when I catch myself doing that, I stop. I go, oh, this is what I'm doing. I need to stop and bring myself back to the present again, because that's really all we have is right here and right now. And I stop and I breathe, and I do the breathing exercises that I showed everyone at the beginning of the meditation.
All right. I started yoga about 2 years ago, I think now. And I realized during the pandemic, when I couldn't go, I was the most anxious I have ever been.
Yeah.
And when you don't get to teach, or when you don't get to do these kind of performances, do you feel like you get out of your peacefulness, or do you feel like you get more anxious? Like what?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
But I do meditate every day. I have a
Okay.
daily practice that it's a meditation that I do to
Yeah.
my Babaji, which is my beloved grandfather.
Okay.
And that brings the whole day back
Mhm.
and brings me back to gratitude.
Okay.
So if you live in gratitude and you're living in the moment, you cannot feel anything negative when you're in gratitude and in the moment, because you're here and now.
And when you're doing your yoga, do you feel like this is what you're meant to do? Like this is what you're supposed to be doing?
No, because that means I'm living in the past or in the future. If I'm supposed to be anything,
Okay.
I stay in that moment and create a mind-body connection through postures or through meditation.
All right. And now, when you are telling people to do yoga or do this, or how do you explain that to someone? Like, how are you like, you need to do this specific kind of yoga? Because there's so many different kinds. I've heard you talk about so many different kinds.
Yeah.
How do you know what that person needs?
They know what they need.
Okay.
So it is not for me to tell anybody who they are.
Mm-hmm.
It is for me to, if someone wants, the guidance to find what works best for them, and for me to be as loving and encouraging as I can be.
Mm-hmm.
So I practice Amrit Yoga,
Okay.
and Amrit Yoga is based off of Kundalini Yoga, which is 5,000 years old.
Oh, wow.
Amrit Desai is my Guru Dev, my beloved teacher. Guru's teacher, Dev is beloved, and he lives in Florida.
Okay.
He has his ashram in Florida, and he's who I follow. So
Awesome.
it is, if someone says, I don't know what type of yoga to practice, I start them with Yoga Nidra, which is the yoga of sleep, and I'm a Yoga Nidra facilitator. So
Very
people, it's
cool.
the first thing people say to me when I say, hey, you know, I'm into yoga. They're like, oh, I can't stretch, I'm not flexible. I'm like, can you lay down? 'Cause that's all you do, is you lay down. And it's sort of a gateway into yoga for people who don't consider themselves yoga people.
Okay.
You don't have to be flexible. And actually, if you're not flexible, it works to your advantage in a way, because you're able to feel yourself in that moment a little more, because maybe your hands don't go all the way to the floor. And you can say to yourself, okay, in this moment, my hands don't go to the floor. And that judgment comes up, and we help you through that. Because if you're judging yourself on the yoga mat, you're judging yourself off the yoga mat. And it's those times in the real world where it really makes a difference. So if you're in work and you're judging a performance that you did or whatever, you can remember the yoga mat and say, okay, I judged myself because I couldn't put my hands to the floor.
Yep.
I'm judging myself because maybe the PowerPoint I did was not what I thought it should be.
Mm-hmm.
How do I deal with that? Well, the same way, I breathe my way through it. It's in the past now, and that's it. Come back to the present.
And when you're teaching, do you try to get that lesson across during your teaching?
You know, again, you can't force anything on anybody. I offer it. If someone's ready to receive that lesson, they will.
Okay. And is Yoga Nidra your favorite? I know you don't have favorites, but you have to have one that you like teaching a little bit more than another.
I enjoy Yoga Nidra a great deal.
Okay.
Because Yoga Nidra changes people's lives very effectively.
Okay.
Yoga does as well. If it doesn't change your life, it's not yoga. So it doesn't really make a difference if it's yoga with postures or yoga with meditation or yoga when you're laying on the floor. It all does the same thing. But with Yoga Nidra, you actually can change your life through intention.
Okay.
So we set an intention at the beginning of Yoga Nidra. I bring you down into your almost sleep. So it's like a sleep-wake state.
Okay.
So you're not really sure what's going on. And those intentions go directly where they need to. So I like to explain it like this. So you say, so I set an intention, I want to make more money. And so, okay, money, I live in abundance. Abundance is for me. I live my life in abundance. All my needs are being met abundantly. In the present, a little, I call it a gremlin, pops up on your shoulder and puts its claws around your neck and goes, who are you to be abundant? Who are you to have money? Who are you? Who do you think you are? And all that judgment comes up. Yoga Nidra goes behind the gremlin. The gremlin never shows up, so that I live in abundance. The love of my life is in my life. I am a confident, strong woman. All it just flows through you because you can't argue with that because it's going right to your subconscious. Does that make sense?
100%. And I think that's a really amazing power that you can have with one teaching, which I think is something that I feel people should get into if you have this like overwhelming anxiety, or if you feel like a lot of things are going wrong in 1 week, you know, taking a step back, going to a yoga class or Yoga Nidra, just to like kind of reevaluate what's going on, because I feel like that's something a lot of people have to do, like including myself.
Well, the nice thing about the Yoga Nidra is you don't have to go to a class. I have a Nidra on Insight Timer that folks listen to, and I've received great feedback on. So
Mm.
if you can't, of course, practicing with other people and experiencing their energy and the energy flow from the teacher
Mm.
is ideal. But if you can't, certainly recordings are available.
Well, you heard it here. Insight timer,
Insight
everybody.
timer.
Go do some yoga nidra. Your gremlins will go away. So saying all of that, I'm going to jump over to, how did you get your name RUKMINI?
Oh, that's an interesting story. So that was given to me by my Gurudev. And I was initiated into the yoga lineage, which means I was brought into his family. And I chose to have a Hindu name.
Okay.
And he gave me the name of RUKMINI. And it is rumored that my Babaji, his teacher,
Mm-hmm.
whispered it in his ear
Oh, okay.
spiritually, because Babaji has passed. He crossed over in 1977. So
Wow.
one of my fellow yoga sisters told me that. She's like, this is what I heard, this is as I understand it. So I have that connection to Babaji through my name.
And does RUKMINI have a specific meaning to it?
Yes, it means adorned in gold.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
that's super cool.
It's very cool. And actually in Hindu lore,
Mhm.
Rukmini is married to Krishna, Lord Krishna. She's one of his wives.
Oh, okay.
So when that name was bestowed upon me, and she's also an avatar of Lakshmi, who is the goddess of abundance.
Okay.
So there's a lot behind it.
Yeah.
And when I was blessed with that name, they tell you wait a year before you look up the meaning.
Uh-huh.
Well, if you've known me more than 38 seconds, you know that lasted all of 20 minutes from the time I could walk from one space to my cabin and look the name up on my phone. That didn't, the year was not going to happen. But I was blown away because to me it was a huge responsibility.
Yeah.
So I carry this name and I carry the meaning with it, and I spread it to other people. And that's what I do through my music, through my meditations, through my teachings. And when I was in India with my Gurudev, he made me a disciple. And I took that very seriously because he said, teach my teachings. And so that's why I'm here. Because of
And
him.
do you enjoy teaching your teachings to other people?
I love it.
You do?
I love
Okay.
to teach, I love to learn.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that we are so blessed to be able to learn. We are so blessed to be able to teach.
Mm-hmm.
It's a responsibility. It's not even something I have a choice. I don't have a choice. I need to teach this. I need to show other people how to be mindful, how to be in the present, how to lose that anxiety, how to change their lives. That's a responsibility.
And saying all of this, do you
Yeah.
put all of this into your music teaching as well?
It comes through.
Okay.
Yeah, the music doesn't come from me, it comes through me.
Okay.
So remember we were saying, you're like, what's your favorite instrument? Like the one I'm playing in that moment.
Yeah.
Because that is the message I'm receiving, that's what's
Mm.
coming through me, and that's the inspiration to play that particular instrument, that note at that time.
Now on Insight Timer, all of your songs are all named a certain thing.
Yeah,
How do you come up with those names?
they just come to me. Yes.
So you have a couple. You have Toka Shells.
Toka Shells,
Or-
yes.
Toka Revolution, actually,
Uh-huh.
is the whole name. Now, did you just sit there and you're like, that sounds like an awesome name? Or was that kind of just like, here it is?
Well, I'm playing the Toka Shells.
Yeah.
And I'm like, feels like a revolution. Like, this is like people are going to love. I fell in love with Toka Shells when I was in Jamaica, and searched for them. They're not a very common thing.
Yeah.
And so when I was playing them, recording them, I'm like, this is a revolution. So,
Well, they are super cool, like, sound and, like, because when you look at them, they never look like they would make that really cool sound. And then they do, and you're like, what? Like, so I find that really cool. And I remember when you first got that drum as well.
yeah.
That was a really cool sound too,
My
and
happy
it
drum, yeah.
and it makes all these cool different textures, and like depending on where you hit it.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember when we were finding all those different sounds, we're
Yes.
like, this sounds really cool.
Yeah, I've had a lot of fun with that drum.
Yeah,
that's
and it
been-
sounds so pretty too.
It's a very light sounding drum that calls to my spirit. It calls to my child, my inner child.
Yeah.
And that's why I like playing it, because my inner child comes out.
Go for it, yeah.
Yeah, right?
Everybody has to have their little inner child, right?
Yeah.
It's the only way to go through life. So I want to hop on over to your other kind of music.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. So you do a lot of children's music.
I do,
Yeah.
yes.
And doing that led you and I to doing yoga music as well. Now, when you're doing your children's music, does that also just kind of like flow out of you, or is that more of like a thought out process?
You know, I wish I could say I had a formula that I sit down and I don't. No, those are very in the moment inspired. All of them have been in the moment inspired.
Yeah, and when doing those, do you feel like accomplished after they're all done and all thought out and recorded and everything, or do you kind of like sit on it for a little bit?
I've had a couple of songs. I actually still have some music that actually has come to me at 3 a.m. and I wake up with lyrics and with chord progressions, and I write them down, and they're half done.
Mm-hmm.
So when I am able to finish a song, I do feel a great sense of accomplishment, only because I'm thinking of the children who listen to them.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's why I do it. I was blessed to have a healthy child 24 years ago, and not everyone has that.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, going into different, if you go into a hospital, every time I go into a children's hospital or even a regular hospital, I just say a little prayer of thanks because I had a healthy child. So that's why this children's music was so important to me,
Mm-hmm.
because the idea is that they're short, they're catchy, and the idea is that a nurse could sing to a sick child in bed, and they could go jump, jump, like from Lobster, and just for a moment, that child could think, you know, not of the treatment they're going through, but of something fun and something different, even if just for a second. That's why I did it.
I feel like your yoga music is the same essence too, because when you're listening to that, everything kind of goes away for a second. You know, like you feel relaxed, you feel in the moment.
Thank you.
And I feel that's the same thing with the children's music. When a child is listening to that, they feel relaxed. Everything's kind of out of their head, like you're saying.
Yeah.
So do you feel like those two connect together?
Well, if you put it like that, I do. Yeah. Never thought of it like that, but yes, you know, it's sure. Yeah, that makes sense to me. Others see you differently than you see yourself.
Of course.
And other people will put things together in a way that you don't see yourself doing it. So thank you for that. I received that. Thank you. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, when you're listening to your children's music, yes, it might be funny, it might be fun, but at the same time, it's a great reliever for kids, for parents who need their kids to go do something for 10 minutes so that they can go to the bathroom. It's a good thing for people to be able just to throw in the car if their kid's screaming in the back.
Right.
But it's the same thing for this music as well, for yoga music, because if you're throwing that on too, your kid might start relaxing in the back seat without you even knowing it.
Yeah.
So I think that that's a really important thing for you to also remember, that like those two things do connect, and it's a good connection, and it's a worthy connection, you know. Well, you and I have worked together for what, 3 years now?
Forever.
I know it feels like forever.
I feel like we've known each other forever.
I know.
You know,
well, we have a lot of heart-to-heart conversations in the studio.
I know, right? It's like therapy and music and therapy and music.
It really is, though. So, looking at all of the things we've put out, what is your favorite that you've put out?
Oh my gosh, Sky. We've done a lot. I mean, I know that COVID has been just such a terrible thing for so many people, and I know people who've had COVID, and
I know
people have died, and it's a really awful thing. But we've put out 3 children's albums and 1 yoga album.
Which I think there's another one in the works.
There's another one in the works.
I feel like there is.
In 14 months. So all during COVID, I mean, we just started, you know, I felt like, you know, we just put all this music out. So hopefully out of something bad, something good could happen.
100%.
As far as a favorite, I think Moo Cow Moo is my...
Yeah, you think so?
Yeah, I don't like to play favorites, but I think...
You have to play favorites sometimes for your own stuff.
Just a little more favorites.
Because you have to applaud yourself for the good that you've done.
It's just a funny song.
It's a fun song, too. And, you know, I love when people are like, oh, what's some work that you've worked on in the past? And you play that, and they're like, all right. And you're like, you know what? Just appreciate it and keep going. And like I said, it might be funny, but no matter what age you are, those songs make you giggle a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. And if someone doesn't like them, it's not for them.
Exactly.
So
yes.
people have asked me, well, how do you handle criticism? And I'm like, well, okay,
it is what it is.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
It's just not for you. You're not a sick little kid in bed. Believe me, you're a sick little kid in bed. Someone's singing Mukamu to you, you're gonna
be laughing.
You're gonna laugh at it. You're gonna laugh at it, or at least to think I'm a little weird, which is okay too.
Everyone's a little weird though. It's a thing. Everyone's a little weird, so do not take that badly at all.
I don't. I'm
Good.
like,
I know you don't, and you're
Yes.
extremely good with criticism. But how do you tell other people that they should be okay with criticism? Like when you're doing yoga and things of that nature, you're telling people not to feel judged, not to be judged. It's kind of the same teaching that you're telling yourself.
Well, I allow people to clear a space for non-judgment.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not saying to them, don't feel judged, because
Yes.
you can't tell someone how to feel.
Mm-hmm.
You can only create a safe space for them to let that go.
Mm-hmm.
And you'd be amazed at how, when you give someone permission to not judge themselves, you'd be amazed what happens to somebody.
Yeah.
They light up.
Which I feel like you have done, because I feel like when you and I first started working, you were a little timid on putting out stuff.
Yeah, oh, for sure. And you
Yeah.
helped me through that, and I connected it with yoga and was able to come to a space where it's like, all right, well, if Skylar Batts at Studio 121 believes in me enough to record my music, then I should believe in me enough to perform it,
And to put it out. Yeah.
there, because someone needs to hear it, no matter what it is.
Exactly.
If it's coming out of you, someone needs to hear it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the world needs that in this moment,
100%.
that no matter what it is, no matter what you're doing, you can be painting, you can make music, you can teach yoga, you can educate children, no matter what it is, if it's coming out of you, someone needs to hear it.
And do you stand by that yourself as well?
Yes.
Good. I'm glad. I'm glad that all those years ago you decided to make sure that these things were going to be put out and they're going to be heard.
Yeah, and it wasn't without encouragement from other people, for sure.
But look at it now. Your Insight Timer does great.
It does do great. Yes, I'm blessed.
You have
Thank
your
you.
new podcast out.
I love that podcast.
Which is awesome, and you guys will hear that in a different podcast, so I'm not going to get too into that today. But all the things that you have done so far are doing great, and they're making you happy as well.
They're making other people happy too.
Yeah,
and that's really why you do anything.
You come into the studio sometimes and you're honest. You're like, I'm not feeling it today.
Yeah.
But we still get something cracked out because
for sure.
that's how you have to do it. And I think sometimes people need to realize that too. Like, today might not be the day that you have to go do your laundry. Like today,
right, Right, yes, good point. Yeah.
And I think that's something that people have to realize, that you might not be feeling up to something today, and that's okay.
Well, look at, there have been times we've booked studio time with the idea that we're going to finish on top of spaghetti or, any one of a number of things that we've done. And I'm like, today's not that day. And it's like, okay, well, let's do some yoga music. And something good still comes out of it.
100%. Like we did a couple yoga songs 2 weeks ago or something like that.
Yeah.
And they came out really cool. They
did,
came out nice.
Yep, they're pending on Insight Timer now, so stay tuned.
Yes, stay tuned. And I think that's something that you saying now might resonate with somebody that's listening right now as well.
I hope so, yeah.
Because if you can't do it today, you can't do it today. It's just, and I think that's something that I have started to learn during the pandemic too. If I can't do it today, it's not going to happen.
Not going to happen, yeah.
Now, I wish I could say that with my homework, but that does not happen.
No, you get the power. That's where discipline comes.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's always easy.
That's where caffeine comes through. But, is there anything that I missed that you wanted to talk about today?
No, just, thanks to you and to Studio 121 for all the great belief and psychotherapy sessions and, all the lessons on social media marketing. I mean,
it takes practice. It does, and it takes discipline too. It's just like one of those things you kind of have to work it into your routine.
Yeah.
And it's a hard routine.
I think it's just getting into it. Like you said, the discipline. I have to set a timer now.
I don't blame you.
And stuff, this is when I'm going to the podcast out. This is when I'm going to put on Instagram or.
I feel like putting out those podcasts, though, after, I feel like it makes you feel a little relieved, but also happy that this is out and that the world can hear it. Because, like you said, whatever's coming out, it's meant to be heard.
Someone needs to hear it.
And I'm so glad that those podcasts have started coming out because I feel like what you say needs to be heard.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, the feedback's been really great.
Yeah.
Honestly. So it's been exciting.
Make sure you guys tune into the podcast, too, which is on Spotify.
And that is Miraculous Spirituality for the Average Being.
And
by RUKMINI.
Yes, and it's so good, and it just makes you feel like everything's gonna be all right. So
we talk about everyday things.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
And the spirituality in everyday things.
Yeah.
Including handbags.
There's yes, Poshmark. So, well, thank you everybody for tuning in today, and thank you for RUKMINI for coming in.
Thank you.
I hope
thank
you all have a
me.
good day, guys. Awesome.